We don't ever want to be in a situation where we are denied access to food, especially when you know that maybe there was something that you could have done to prevent it. That's even worse. So yesterday we were hoping to be able to go ahead and start cutting rafters, but it took us a lot longer to get that ridge board lined up and figure all that out than we actually thought it was going to. We knew it was going to be a problem, as we said, but it did take us a lot longer than we thought. But everything does. So today we're going to be putting the rafters on the chicken coop. This wall that we attached our ridge board to had that bow in it. Of course, it made the ridge board kind of bowed and stuff too. We're gonna have to measure each rafter individually and cut them to whatever length.
We're just using 2x4s for the rafters because we don't have that long of an expanse. I go into detail on how to cut a rafter, how to lay it out, how to measure it. If you watched our equipment shed build videos, if you haven't, you know, and you want to see in detail how to cut a rafter, by all means, go back and check that out.
I'll leave a link in the description.
Yeah, do that. Leave a link in the description. Matter of fact, it had been a little while since I did that one, and I went back and watched myself explaining it just for a review for myself. Since I don't do this for a living, I forget how to do it too. We ended up with only a 2 and 12. That's the best we could do with a 6-foot wall up front, and I wasn't willing to compromise and shorten that. For the 2 and 12, okay, I got my framing square here. Your fat part I'm using as the run, the skinny part as the rise. So in other words, we're going up 2 inches of rise for 12 inches of run. So I'm just putting the 12 up to the edge of the board here, while at the same time having the 2 on the rise part up to the edge of the board there. And then I can slide it, you know, however I want to where I want to strike that line. Strike that line right there. So now we have our plumb cut. I'm gonna hack this off, saw that off, and then instead of measuring it out from there for the length for the seat cut on top of the wall, I'm actually just gonna stick it up there with this plumb cut in place and then mark it, and that way I'll get an exact. Because again, I can't just template it out. Normally in a new construction, all your rafters are gonna be the same length, right? But not in this case. So you guys just marked the inside and outside of where it's going to sit on that wall. But we still got to make it plumb with the angle for the 2 and 12.
Looks pretty good. Look at that.
What do you think?
I think it looks like it might be a chicken coop. Yeah, test it. Oh, I don't know about this.
Remember the 3-second rule? If it holds you for 3 seconds, it's good.
Yeah, guys, if you don't know what we're talking about, go back and watch our video titled "That Looks Sketchy" for our shed build. Yeah, our equipment shed build. Oh.
All right. Got that.
Finally getting ready to do the last rafter, and I'll tell you guys, it is hot today. And maybe, you know, not as hot as somebody is in like the deep south, but to us here in West Virginia, 90+ degrees is hot. looks like it might start raining, so we're just kind of taking a break to see what this weather is going to do. We don't want to get all our power tools back out and everything and then just get rained on. So see what it does. We do have some more work we'd like to get done today. It kind of got me to thinking about, while we're working with this, building this chicken coop onto this previous construction and just having issue after issue that we have to deal with. It's very tedious and time consuming, but it got me to thinking about how, like, when you get into homesteading, I think it's really important that you have some kind of really, really strong driving motivation behind why you do what you do, because otherwise it's just going to be super tedious and overwhelming and probably at times won't even make financial sense. For us, just like many of you guys, we're concerned about the availability of food and having more control over that. We don't ever want to be in a situation where we are denied access to food. It's a horrible thing to think about, especially when you know that maybe there was something that you could have done to prevent it. That's even worse. But there's even more to it. Like, our deeper meaning behind homesteading is even larger than that. To us, our biggest motivation is the fact that we don't like what is being put in the foods, like especially like GMO and chemicals as well. We personally feel like these types of things are an abomination to the Creator's creation, and we don't want to have any part of that whatsoever. Now, like, it has taken us a really long time to get to this point, and we have a lot further to go. And, it's just one of those things where we're kind of like waxing and waning in and out of deciding how to deal with this. But we finally became fully convicted that we can't be any part of, what we consider to be an abomination. And, I think the more we get into homesteading, the more we also realize that this really feels like the kind of life that our Creator designed for us to live. And I just feel like there's so much meaning and purpose behind it. But I think if you don't really have that deep conviction and driving motivation, homesteading is going to be a really, really difficult thing to do long term. I know that we're just getting like the tip of the iceberg of the work that is yet to come. But it's exciting, and I know at times it's going to be exhausting. There have already been some exhausting days, but oh, my arm's tired. This is a heavy camera for doing YouTube with. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of work ahead, but I just think if you are somebody that's thinking about getting into homesteading, really think about what your conviction and your motivation is going to be to do it, because that is the one thing that's going to get you out of bed. There's going to be so many days you don't want to get up and go out there, and you just got to get the work done. And that driving motivation is going to be why you do it every single day. I might have to remind myself that a few times.
Now I'm just figuring out what our shortest rafter is, basically, out from the wall where our shortest, overhang would be, and then I'm just going to cut them all the same, so we'll have that uniform overhang.